Everybody's Grace. Welcome to Eating Peace this week. I am traveling, so I'm staying in a hotel room, blank walls, just kind of a benign hotel room, not really my own space. And when you're traveling, you're also not in your own space when it comes to food and eating. Sometimes we eat out a lot, sometimes you're at uh, some kind of kitchen or area where you're cooking and doing things that you have to go out and buy the ingredients and the groceries and see what they've got and put things together. And the place that I happen to be has meals served each and every day, like a big camp, like a summer camp for families. And I'm here with my entire family. So, one thing I noticed was the other day I had to miss one of the meals because I'm teaching summer camp teleclasses right now. And it just happened to be that the 90 minutes that the summer camp call was going to take place was exactly the time that the meal is served in the big lodge. So no food for Grace. And what I notice is that is a thought that can be very, very stressful for people that are interested in um, food and eating and constantly compulsively overeat, is this very interesting opposite stressful belief, fear of hunger. Just to consider hunger and do a little inquiry and exploring around hunger. People will say things like I used to in my own mind, and they still sort of seem to float by, but they kind of like don't have a lot of serious or edge. Or, well, I'll tell you what happened, because I noticed there were some bananas that we had brought that were right here in the hotel room. And one banana was satisfying enough to last until the next time some food was available. It was just not a problem. And this happens sometimes in day-to-day life. I actually didn't even notice it. More of my stressful thinking was around anticipating that I'm going to get hungry and I won't like it. I'm going to be so uncomfortable later. It's going to be terrible. So I better eat now. Oh no, there's nothing in the room. Oh no, I don't want to go out and leave the camp to go find some kind of food, as if also there's no other food available anywhere in sight if I didn't even just ask one person. Do you have any snacks lying around, or do you have an apple? Kind of funny. So most of the stress I find that I ever had about hunger was in anticipating that I might have it. But very important to notice that the actual experience of hunger felt extremely stressful to me. That is a great thing to study. If you can, sometimes it's so hard that people have a hard time even getting all the way there. So you can just begin using your imagination. But the place I'm talking about is being very hungry. If you can somehow, maybe you find yourself accidentally or unexpectedly noticing that you're very, very hungry. It's just the way circumstances have gone, as the food has not been available, or an extended period of time has gone between the last time you ate and you didn't expect it to be that long. Sometimes when some of us have dieted in an extreme way, you felt very, very hungry, and there's been a weird sense of trying to control and tighten and push away and ignore your hunger. That's the best way to work with it, kind of swinging all the way to the opposite side. I don't care, I'm not hungry, or if I am, I'm going to pretend I'm not, and do everything I can to sort of override or diminish or quiet down that hunger. So pendulum swinging on two sides of this sort of perspective or experience of hunger. But it can be really fascinating to sit and write down what your stressful thinking is when it comes to great hunger. What does hunger feel like? Sometimes there's acids growling around in your stomach, making noises even. But sometimes hunger doesn't show up that way. Maybe there is no acidy sort of fury and fizzling going around in your stomach at all. It might be just that you feel lightheaded or a little bit weak or sort of sleepy, and you haven't had food for a really long time. Sometimes I would even feel a little bit nauseated if I hadn't eaten food. But the thing is then looking and seeing what your stressful worried, fearful, angry thoughts are about being hungry. So I judged the heck out of hunger. I realized when I was hungry that I was panicking. I had a fear that I wasn't going to get food soon, that there was going to be no way to actually acquire it or obtain it, that I couldn't find it fast enough, and that I had this conflict too, starting really like teenage years and my first diet, that I should be ignoring it, suppressing it, that there's something wrong with me if I'm so into appeasing this hunger. Can't I just be patient and wait for a little while? So much control of this physiological response to eating, to hunger and eating, which flows in and out constantly, all day, for all people. But what if I could relax and question all my thoughts about hunger and how bad it was, and how dangerous, and how alarming, and how worrisome? Thoughts, people have thoughts all the time when they're dieting, or when they're not dieting, I better eat now because I might be hungry later. They're so worried about hunger. I used to have that, gosh, let's see, what time is it going to be? And doesn't mean I still don't take care of myself and pack a lunch if I'm going to be gone for a long time and wondering about my meals, but much more spontaneity and much more lightness about actually making sure all the food is in place so that I don't freak out. That's kind of got this edge of stress and imbalance for me personally. It's going to look different for everybody. Whatever makes you feel the most peaceful is probably the thing to be with in the most loving, kind, and compassionate way. But anticipation, the thing hasn't even happened yet. You can sit and look. If you allow yourself to get hungry and actually be right in that experience, or you're remembering a time when you were extremely hungry, ask yourself these questions. Is it true that I can't handle this? Is it true that I need to be scared because the hunger is so strong? Can I absolutely know it's true that I'm going to die? I remember once fasting. I've only done that one time in my entire life. Pure and ongoing, careful, medically approved fasting, only for 48 hours. It wasn't very long. But I could never really do it because I had had such extreme thoughts about hunger and fullness and anorexia and bulimia. Fasting just wasn't really the way to go for me. But I got this opportunity to experience it. I went ahead and went with the flow. And it was with a group, so it was very supported. And I realized on this first night, after all day of not eating, you had lots of beverages and lots of things to drink that were not juices, but water and herbal teas, and just to keep yourself hydrated. And so physiologically, I was not going to die. But as I went to sleep that night, I had the thought, I cannot believe that I'm going to sleep without eating food. Who does that? This is insane. It was like the world was coming to an end or something. How could I make it? I might not wake up in the morning. I might go to sleep and never live through this experience of not eating. I knew that it was actually completely fine. I was totally medically healthy. Everything was handled well, completely supported. I knew that that was actually the case. And part of me, luckily a larger part of me, wanted to feel what it would be like to actually move into this fast and not eat with so much panic and so much freak out. And it's really funny for somebody who'd been such an extreme dieter to, in this situation, notice all the fear that I actually had bound up, in this experience of hunger. I won't make it through the night. I'm actually going to die. Who would I be without that story? Who would I be without that thought when it comes to hunger? With no agenda, this inquiry is not done so that you handle hunger well, or you stay hungry longer, or you bring hunger more into your life in a way that's off balance and like moving more into dieting, or with this motive to lose weight or do something with your body. This is just only looking at the thoughts, just being comfortable with your own perspective, your own view, your own experience of hunger, feeling all the sensations and not being so against them or so for them, whatever your orientation is to hunger, just watching them and being with them without a judgment. Who would I be without this story of hunger? I had such extreme stories. It was always like fantastic if I'm really hungry because it means I'm probably losing weight and it means I'm in control and it means this and it means that. So my perspective, having it disordered eating, was that it was good if I was hungry. But I also had a deep physiological fear of all that hunger that I imposed on myself and the goodness, the moral goodness that I put on hunger. Going without is better. So I also had this other perspective that being hungry is terrible and life-threatening. And here it was appearing in full bloom when I hadn't eaten food all day and I got to experience this fast. In the morning, I was still so hungry. I felt like I can't even figure out what's going on. I can't even follow the program that we're in unless I eat food. And I meant the program that was a learning program, not anything about food and eating. I can't even concentrate because I haven't eaten food. It was like this weird, desperation over here, physiological desperation and memory and awareness of how good I thought hunger was for me. Very weird conflict, battle. And it just made it so clear all of a sudden, this super beyond human battle that I expected myself to be in when it came to hunger and fullness. I learned so much in that inquiry process, turning the thought around. This hunger is evil, terrible, it's going to kill me. This hunger is fine. It's not evil. It's not going to kill me. It would take a long time to die of my own hunger. I am going to be able to get food very soon. And actually, the first meal that I had was amazing. It almost brought me to tears with the beauty of it. I actually was brought to tears just being aware of food being available in such abundance and the joy that I felt in my heart about being able to supply something that reduced hunger, and how amazing it is that I have this capacity to act and take care of myself in such a loving way that now I would no longer feel this hunger feeling, and that this is just something that exists in the human body, a desire to find fuel and enjoy it and love it, and then move on very quickly. It doesn't take very long to eat, and then you move on to other things. No moral value on the goodness of hunger, the badness of hunger, what's wrong with my mind. What I noticed again in another turnaround was that my thinking was the one that was starving. My thinking was hungry. It thought it's going to collapse and die and all is horrible and all is very, very unwell and this is an emergency about food and eating. And I could see very well that that was not actually true. My thinking was the thing that was desperately hungry. And it was hungry for far more than food. It was hungry for care and attention and calmness and relaxation and joy being in the body and having fullness come and having emptiness come and refueling just joyfully, like you do with your car. If your car's getting low on gas and there's gas stations everywhere, you're not like in a panic, oh my God, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to die before I get 2 blocks away to fill my gas tank. That never happens, right? That would be a little funny. I can understand being a little worried if you're way out in the wilderness somewhere and your gas tank's almost on empty. Even that. Are you in danger? Are you sure you're going to die because you ran out of gas? Often not the case. And you can also even question death and dying, just to bring a little more depth into this whole thing. Is that really the worst thing that ever happened? That's for another day and another inquiry. But wonderful to be able to sit with. It's my thinking it's my beliefs that create all this hunger, this desperation around the experience, the physiological feeling of hunger. And maybe I can be comfortable with hunger as well as fullness, because that's part of life and that's part of having a human body, and totally enjoy both sides. You can also do this work on fullness. I'll talk about that next time. All right, let me know how it goes. Are you sure you're going to die if you're hungry? Are you sure you're being good if you're hungry? Are you sure it's the right thing to do to be hungry if you want to lose weight? Are you sure hunger is your friend or your enemy? Either side of it? Who would you be without any of those stories? Just human, noticing, movement to food, calm, rested, being in this flow of life, just like the tides coming in and out, riding a part of it. All right. Take care. Bye, everybody.